Okay, so I've been making a few videos about my personal experience in a domestic violence relationship with someone I I'm certain had a narcissistic personality disorder. To be more specific, I'm almost certain he has malignant narcissism, which is one of the highest forms of narcissism and also involves violent outbursts, erratic behavior, impulsive behavior, and a void of empathy. So today I wanted to talk not so much about the disorder, but key things that you should keep in mind when you're in a domestic violence relationship um, to help you in the future because you are dealing with a narcissist. And there is a famous doctor named Dr. Ramani who specializes in personality disorders and all types of psychiatric issues. And she takes a great interest in narcissism and the cluster B personality disorders. So, whereas you would be, let's say, if someone was violent based upon their alcoholism or schizophrenia or anger issues, when you're dealing with a narcissist or somebody with a personality disorder, you are dealing with a very vindictive type of person who has a tendency to create a fantasy as well as pathological lying. So you're up against a great deal of manipulation and control. So if you are in a domestic violence relationship, here are some key things to take into account that will help you in the future. So I know you could be very much lost in the domestic violence victim role. You could be in a deep state of brainwashing and manipulation. You may not have the urge to live or survive or function at any healthy rate, but you need to let your instincts and your intuition drive you. So even though you may not have much urge to live and be happy, you really have to run on instinct and logic, which is very hard to do when you're being controlled and abused physically and mentally. So please keep that in mind, that you might be in this state right now, but once you're ready to break free and move on, that you have to keep these things in mind during the time of the abuse. So the first one is document everything that happens. So every single time that you are beaten, please document it. This means you need to write a date that the abuse happened on. You need to take video and photography of the abuse, and you need to send those to a safe location. So if you have a friend who you know that is organized and responsible, send it to the friend, send it through email, send it through every social media to that person so that they can keep it safe for you for future safe keep it for you for the future. Do not keep it on your phone. Do not have it on your computer. Once you send it to this friend or multiple friends or family, delete it off of your phone or system, because that can get you in put you in physical harm if your abuser sees these things. So that's number one. Number two is to make sure you vocalize what is happening to as many people as you possibly can. I know this is hard, and a lot of people live in their abuse for many years and they don't tell anybody. This is going to harm you in the future if you have children. This may harm you in the future if you are married, because there is nobody to share those experiences. It was just you and your abuser, and when it comes to court, it's going to be your word over his. So if you have involved a lot of people, these people can be witnesses in the future. So again, you're in the abuse victim mentality and you are not prepared for what's to come, and you're not thinking about that, but make sure you tell as many people as possible. 3, tell as many professionals as possible. So if you are seeing your doctor or you are seeing a therapist, or you are, in my case, I told the abortion clinic that I did not want an abortion, that I was only there because I was being physically abused. I made sure to tell my gynecologist, when I went in there, I made sure to tell her, can you please do an ultrasound, because my father of my child is physically abusing me, and he abused me really bad yesterday. I made sure to hint to counselors for my son that, you know, the person I'm pregnant by is a stalker and he's crazy. I made sure to tell some professionals, so that if they, in the future, I ever needed witnesses, that I could use them. This was purely based on my internal instinct that I did these things, because at the time I wasn't thinking about custody, I wasn't thinking about court. I just wanted to die. I was in such a dire place. I just wanted to die. So I think my instincts set me up to be okay. Plus, I'm a very outspoken person, and I'm an open book, and I'm very honest about my flaws, and I like to talk a lot, so I vocalized, you know, I kept quiet for about a week or two of the abuse, but after that I vocalized to everybody. So that was good for me. I think we're on number 4, is if you have a very violent, impulsive, unpredictable partner, make sure that his acts of violence are seen in public. If they're seen in public, make sure to go to that place the next day and get the phone numbers and names of people that witnessed it. If it's in a store, like in my case, there were security guards that had seen, a sheriff had seen before, the people working at a pharmacy had seen, and Denny's workers had seen this before. So try and go back and collect those phone numbers and names. Although you might not be ready to report the abuse to the authorities at the time, one day you will be, and it hurts a lot more not to have proof and for people not to believe you than for you to have proof and everybody believe you. So trust me when I tell you this, that really sets yourself up. Number 5 is record phone conversations. If you have a overtly terrorizing, impulsive abuser like I did, if you tell them I'm recording this conversation, they're not going to care. They're not going to stop from talking. They're going to say everything. They might even threaten to kill you, even though they know it's being recorded. So make sure to record everything possible. If you feel like it's too dangerous to tell him you're recording, record without his permission. That is fine. So make sure you record everything, because although they say that it's illegal to present recordings in court without letting the person know you're recording, this is in family court, it kind of can sway either way. I've seen almost 90% of people that have recordings be able to play it in court for family court. So do that. Make sure, number 6 is make sure you screenshot all text messages and send it to that friend or family member that you trust. Because of the impulsive nature of abusers, you never know. In my case, I had over 100 voice recordings of dangerous behavior over the phone that my abuser had deleted off of my phone, and I had not backed it up. So I lost hundreds of recordings. I lost hundreds of text messages because of this. So make sure you're constantly screenshotting and sending it to your friend. You always want to back up all of the text messages, and you will need them in the future if you are married or have children, and you can't just cut ties and leave this person, that you're going to have to separate some things. So that would be number 6. Number 7 is to make sure you tell their family. Make sure you vocalize to their family about the abuse. Make sure you vocalize it over text message, and make sure you screenshot the text messages to the family and back those up as well. You want to make sure, this could help you in the future in court, that they saw that you were in dire and desperate need and you were afraid. And it could also, a lot of courts, they don't understand why the victim doesn't call the police or get authorities involved, but if they see a constant narrative of you seeking help in other aspects and avenues, they will be more inclined to believe your story in the future. Another thing, number 8, is call the police all the time. If you're not ready to apprehend your abuser, make sure you're constantly calling the police when they show up at your house. If they live with you, make sure you can call the police if it's safe to do so, because I know in my case it was very unsafe for me to call the police most of the time. If he was physically there at the time abusing me, there was no way I could have called the police. That's another thing that non-victims in courts don't understand, is why didn't you call the police during the abuse? You're being abused. You don't have the chance to protect yourself from a punch, let alone, call the police. So if you don't live with them, call the police at all cost. If you feel like they're coming to abuse you, if you're not ready to have them apprehended and taken into custody, just constantly call the police and tell them that I'm very afraid of him. I believe he's very dangerous. There's been domestic violence in the past, and I would like you to escort him off of my property. If he's in the home with you, make sure you are calling the police. If you feel like if he's getting dangerous, if he's acting bizarre, if you feel like there's a bout of domestic about to occur, try and call the police as safely as possible. And if you're not ready to apprehend him, again, I believe that the first time he hits you, they should be apprehended, taken to jail, and all these steps need to be taken. But when you are a victim, that's usually not the case. So if you're not ready to apprehend him when the police come, make sure to advise them that you are afraid of this person, he has a dangerous past, and you would like him escorted off the property, or for the police to mediate the circumstances and situation. You want this because you want a history of the police call log in case you ever have to go to court, and it definitely shows a heightened level of fear of the perpetrator. So those are the things I can think of right now that will help you. I will tell you my own personal story. I did all of those things, I think, unbeknownst to consciously doing it, but rather my instincts made me follow through with these things, because I never thought I would have my abuser taken into custody. I never thought I would follow through with any charges, and I did all of those things. I was brutally beaten by my abuser. I was taken hostage by my abuser. I was what is the word? I was kidnapped, vehicular kidnapping by my abuser. I endured a lot of abuse by the hands of my abuser that I ended up having 2 children with. I documented as much as I could. Luckily for me, many of my friends as well as strangers saw him abusing me in public. So it was kind of like very helpful in that respect. So I was lucky. All of these things have helped me in court. The courts are your friend, but you need to provide the evidence in order for them to properly help you, because you have to understand that there are sick, twisted, malicious people out in the world that make up lies about domestic violence. I don't think it happens that often, but I know that it does, and the court knows that it does. So you want to have a substantial amount of proof when you go to court for them to believe your story. And let me tell you, as a victim of domestic violence, nothing hurts more than someone not believing you. So after enduring such pain and, emotional and physical danger and hurt, and already being victimized to such a degree, the worst thing is for someone to not believe your story. And if you don't have the proof, when you hear those words, it's going to sting and it's going to hurt. So make sure you collect all of that evidence, because if you are dealing with a high-level narcissist or any type of personality disorder, they are going to create fantasies in court. They are going to create fantasies with their family, their friends, their workplace, and they are going to try and paint a narrative that they are innocent. And if you don't have that proof, the story dies with you and him. And you don't want that story to die with you and him. You want everyone to be aware of the monster that these people are. So in order to help yourself, you need these things, because you may end up in court for custody battle, and your children should be the most important thing in the world. And if you don't have that proof, this monster could potentially raise your children 50% of the time. And sometimes I've even heard of abuse victims losing custody of their kids because you're dealing with these narcissists that are in competition with you, and they don't care. They will hurt you more because you decided to leave them. So you need these things. If you're married, you need the financial alimony. You need to be able to divide things up. And if you don't have this evidence, it's your word against his. And most of the time, these narcissists are charming and manipulative and very, very, very vindictive, and they will do anything to get their way. So make sure that you have these things with you, and they will most certainly paint a picture for the courts and for the professionals to see the truth behind everything. So I just wanted to share some of that with you. It's once you decide to get the courage. Another thing I thought is, maybe you have now you have the courage to leave this abuser. Now you're ready, and you don't have any evidence. Maybe I would hate to suggest keeping yourself in a dangerous situation, but maybe you can start collecting the evidence now, so that you don't lose your kids in court. I don't know if that's sound advice, because putting yourself in a dangerous situation and your children in a dangerous situation can be very, very costly. But just document everything. I hope this helps somebody out there. I'm glad I took these steps for my own personal complications in this whole court system, and I hope people implement these things in their lives. And I hope that every victim of domestic violence gets away from these horrible, disgusting, disturbed abusers and is able to be healthy and move on with their lives, because life is beautiful, and this was just a small portion of your life, and you can do it. You can move on. You can win. You can get your custody, your alimony. You can separate, and everything will work out good, and you will be strong, and you will achieve great things. So that's it, and that's my video. Leave a comment below if you want any further advice. I'd be more than happy to give you my input. Okay, thank you.